All right, fastest 15 minutes on the internet, fastest 15 minutes in social media. And my name is Judson Powell. And just want to, first of all, start out, we're still on this whole thing talking about the effects of hip hop music and music in general on the psyche of our race. And I think that people need to understand too, and I mentioned this one other time, is the fact that music, the frequencies in music are naturally, they're naturally there to draw you in. All right, so it's not hard to draw somebody in. If I put a good beat, because once again, most black people, they like the bottom, so they like the bass clef, so they like the bass and the drums and all of that kind of stuff. All right, and that's why we dance and all of that, because we're in tune to that. The universe has tuned us in to those frequencies, and so all I have to do in order to really make a hit record, if I got some talent or whatever, is be able to handle that bass clef correctly. And if I make the right beat, it doesn't matter what I put over the beat, because you're just going to be naturally attracted to the beat, which is basically what hip hop and rap music have all been about. And so, so now I didn't really comment yesterday about this, or the last time I was on, I didn't comment about it. But the fact of I don't always agree with Dr. Umar, but this one was kind of one that I agreed on. I saw one of his posts, and he was talking about, well, if hip hop is 50 years old, how many schools have we built? How many grocery stores have we built? Infrastructure within the black community. How much infrastructure in the black community has been built through hip hop music since it's the appropriation of our culture? But the fact of the matter is that we have not made the majority of the money. We have fame, but we have fortune. We don't have fortune. So, and I think that a lot of us are confused by, fame versus fortune and all of that. And there's a lot of people out there that we know who they are, but they ain't got no money. They can't go to the bank. They can't go and say, all right, let me fund this. Let me fund this school, or let me fund this, and those different type of things. Hospitals, the things that are needed for infrastructure within the community, which other communities actually do. All right, community centers, education things, or scholarships, or things like that. Now, I'm not saying none of it has been done, but for the most part, you can't put your finger on anything and say this is what hip hop has done for the black community, or gentrifying the black community. As a matter of fact, most of the black communities in the United States of America are now being gentrified over to white folks, right? I mean, like one of the prime examples is Harlem. Like black folks don't live in Harlem no more. I mean, some of them do, but for the most part, they, people have bought up those beautiful brownstones and everything like that in Harlem, and now you can't get one because they're so expensive, and everybody wants to be in New York City. So those are the type of things that looking at real estate, developing the real estate, and once again, stuff like supermarkets, just like the food in our communities is horrible. You can't get a fresh meal. You can go to the corner store and you can get junk, chips and soda and candy and that kind of stuff, but you can't go in most black neighborhoods. You can't go in and get some fresh fruit and vegetables or fresh meat or anything like that in order to cook or to prepare a decent meal, right? And so everybody walking around talking about, oh, I'm vegan, or I'm this or I'm that, but you can't get that healthy food in your own neighborhood. And it's a well-known fact. All right. The other thing is, what about, and that's farming, all of these genetically modified fruits and vegetables. The reason why it's genetically modified is because we don't control the farms. All right, there are no seeds, and the reason why there is not that there are no seeds because they don't want you they want you not to be healthy. There are no seeds because they don't want you to grow fruit trees and vegetables and everything like that. Why? Because you're never gonna come back to them and give them money, right? Because that's the grocery industry. That's a industrial complex. We'd always talk about the industrial complexes. Well, the food and drug industrial complex is worth like $1 trillion. So you got to understand, they don't want you to be able to do that. Because I remember, and I tell people this all the time, when I was younger, everybody had gardens. Everybody had fruit trees in their yard. I remember the thing about going over my grandmother's house was the fact that she had an apple tree and a pear tree and all of that. And you could, she used to make jam and jelly and all kind of stuff and pies and everything else out of the stuff that came off of the apple tree and the pear trees and all of that. Plus in the garden, you had strawberries and and different types of melons and all that kind of stuff. And it was free. All you had to do was go out there and work and do a little bit of work, not even a whole lot of work, because it wasn't like you had a huge farm, but you had enough where you could grow enough food for your family and also for families on your street. That was another thing. We would share food with people on the block, right? It was like, okay, man, I planted all these green beans, and somebody else said, like, look, I planted all this squash, so I'll give you some green beans, give me some squash, and that's the barter system and things like that, which are lost. All that stuff is lost, but that's what we used to do. So we weren't as dependent economically on anybody else, on anybody else's race or culture. So that's what I'm trying to say. So what has the music industry, the hip hop industry, because the only two things that everybody knows that's gonna make money is music and sports and entertainment, or sports entertainment, however you want to describe it or whatever. But those are the things that make money. And so that's why a lot of kids, all they do is they just focus on being athletes, or they focus on being rappers, because they know that, hey, I can go and I can get a lot of money. But what they don't understand is that that's short money, and it's not generational money. And most people that end up in the business, they don't end up having long-term generational money. And most of your people that are athletes and that are entertainers, a large percentage of them end up broke. And we see it in the news all the time. So signed all these contracts, and now they can't. They're working. They're working in Starbucks, or they're working. Or this, that, the other, because it's not even the recent thing with Joe Smith. After 2012, he had no income. Think how many years that is, with no income, because he did not plan for what was going on down the road. And I'm sure you have people that do plan, people like, the Magic Johnsons and the Shaqs and the like, they planned for the future. And then you had people that gave them advice. Like I remember hearing about Julius Erving, Dr. J, telling them, like, look, man, you got to make this money last you for the rest of your life, because you're not going to be able to play basketball for the rest of your life. You're not going to be able to have a income, coming in for the rest of your life. You're not going to have a salary like that. So you got to know what's going on. Now, here's the other thing. I like to send a shout out, and here's another dude that I always was critical of, because I just didn't like the way he carried himself, and that was T.I. But I gotta say this: he's turned, he's like really turned everything around. Right? He's really turned everything around, and he has come literally full circle. And from what I understand, and I read yesterday, he opened up a housing project that also houses homeless children. Like I think they said, and don't quote me on this, but I think it was 25% of the units in the project there. And I shouldn't call it a project, but it's because it's not a project. It's not like the projects like we knew like back in the day. That ain't what this is. All right. So, these are nice places. And he basically, worked all this stuff out. But yeah, 25% are for homeless children, and, special units for them and all that kind of stuff. So, I gotta give a shout out and give credit where credit is due. Another person that's doing that kind of stuff is the comedian Mike Epps. He's out there, he's rehabbing houses in his neighborhood. But these are the type of things that we need to be doing with the money that we're getting, because all we're doing is we're getting money and we're throwing it back. And what is the thing? It's like our money stays in our community for hours, while in other ethnic communities, it stays in there for days, right? And in some cases, I think it was like the Greeks or something like that. Their money like stays in their community for like a month before it is trickulated out of their community. But our money literally doesn't even last a whole day. And most of it we're not spending in our communities. We don't, and that's why I was saying about infrastructure. We don't own the stores, we don't own the schools, we don't own the hospitals, we don't own any of that. And I was that's another thing that I was reading about, how the average hospital is making like $80 million. Making $80 million, profiting $80 million. So if they're profiting $80 million, the average hospital in the United States of America, that's just average. And then there's some that are literally, depending on what they do, their specialties and all that are like way beyond that. But we don't have that kind of infrastructure in the Black community. Now we used to. We used to have our own hospitals and all of that kind of stuff, but that's what we need. That's what we got to do, because that's where money is, and it's also is what will help out the community. Because even with the things that's been going on with my health, I've noticed it's like if you don't know exactly everything that's going on, doctors just have a certain protocol. They give you whatever, and it's like, okay, he's got a hangnail, so let's give him the hangnail medication. You take the hangnail medication, and it kills you because it ain't the right thing for you. And when it comes down to things, Black health issues like high blood pressure and diabetes, they definitely do not have our best interests at heart. Because everything that they're giving us, or everything that they're showing us, basically in a 100% way, is saying, look, okay, we're going to give you stuff, and what we're going to do is we're going to make you comfortable until you die, or until you're on dialysis, or we got to amputate all of your limbs and all of that kind of stuff. But they're not trying to cure you or make you healthy, and that's why we need more. We need less rappers and more Black doctors. And the thing is, you got a 100%, like if you start when you graduate from high school and say, I'm going to be a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, this, that, whatever it is you decide you want to be, you got, as long as you put the effort in, you got a 100% chance of being whatever it is that you have decided that you want to be. 100%. So we got to aim at different things, because okay, after you rap about, all the cars you got, all of the women you got, all of the money you got, all of this, that, and the other thing, that's all the music is about. How much drugs you do, how much alcohol you drink, how many bottles you popping at the club, how much you making it rain with the strippers and all of that. That's, every song is like that. And y'all know it. I'm not lying on the industry. I'm not. That's what all the songs are about. and you know how much fun I'm having and this, that, and the other thing. And then everybody, and then like I said, it's all the Pied Piper syndrome, because what's happening? All they're doing is they're leading you to the slaughter, because that ain't going to give you generational wealth, and it's not going to lead to the longevity of you or your family. Anyway, fastest 15 minutes is up. My name is Judson Powell. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit all of the buttons, but most of all, hit the love button. I love you all.